Hey sweethearts! Today I'm doing a requested video and that is on how I travel alone and traveling alone tips and stuff. So I'm just gonna start with what comes up in my mind at first, and it's more about safety and stuff. So I would really recommend whenever you go, especially to a foreign country that has different currency, where it wouldn't be easy like to speak in your own language with a bank or anything, but in general, even like I personally rarely use cash, and I just prefer like using my debit card. And what I would recommend you is, first of all, make sure that your card works in that country beforehand. I mean, in the European Union usually it does, for example, but still always make sure, because there might be weird rules, or they're also like depending on where you go, there might not really be many cash machines either. So what in general a big rule of mine is I always carry paper money as well. And I always carry it in different places and not just in the same spot. For example, what I do, like last time when I went to Croatia by myself, which was a couple weeks back, I actually took up 50 euros in cash and put them in my bra. And that is just in case my phone gets stolen, my wallet gets stolen. Actually, I usually have my card on my phone directly, and I have my phone in my hand at all times just in case. But even if that gets stolen, then I would still have money to go to like an exchange office and just exchange it there. And that's really important, because if you're by yourself, it's not as easy as just asking a friend to lend you some money. This is something really I think that's most important about that. Also, of course, it was probably good to have either a proper copy of your passport or a photo somewhere. If you have a laptop and a phone with you, back it up there so that you have it and all your documents. In general, bus tickets or something, print them out if you can, or have them in two spaces at the same time, like on your phone, or print it out if you can. And or worst case, like have more money in case like you lose it and or something happens, your phone gets stolen and you don't have your e-ticket, so that you could still go to the bus and actually buy a new ticket. Like, you need to consider all these things just in case. Of course, it's not likely that this will happen, but you would really regret it if you didn't. And it's all some of the things that I always make sure. Other than that, it's probably a smart idea to write down your emergency contact numbers, and of course remember the plus code before, so you actually reach your numbers. Like, whoever it is, it might be your partner, it might be your parents, someone who could help you. Like, if shit went down, like, you never know what happens, just in case, like, you have a medical situation. Also bring, we have an e-card, which is like for health insurance, like anything like that. Or if you have illnesses, don't forget your medication, or look up if you can rebuy that medication in case something happens with your medication, if you can get it in the country, just in case. So those are the main things I think are really important if you go by yourself. For like traveling cheap by yourself, and also kind of in a safe, I guess it's also a safety tip, is I personally do not trust shared rooms where you can't lock anything away and I'm with other people. It's awesome if you're confident enough to do that. I know some friends who do that, but I never would do that myself personally by myself. Maybe with other friends, sure, but for myself, I always go for really cheap Airbnb. I don't care if the place is falling apart. All that is important to me is that I have my own room where I can lock myself in. Doesn't have to be a whole apartment, though. I do prefer that, and it's actually surprisingly cheap if you just look around. If you don't have high standards for what the place has, as long as there is a bed in, like, I had one in Croatia for 13 euros a night, and it was a whole, like, it wasn't big, it was one room, but it has a bathroom and everything, and it was the whole place to myself. Or I have also had shared like rooms where there's many rooms, but everyone has their own key and you share the kitchen and the bathroom, but still, like, you have your own space where you can be locked away and where you can keep your stuff. Also, in general, when it comes to money, put some, if you're a girl, in your bra, or like if you're a guy, or like someone like who doesn't wear a bra, for example, just like there's also these safety these bags that you can pull tightly under your clothing, that are really close to your body, so it can't really be robbed. But also usually like hide some cash away then in wherever I'm staying, in a safe place and with me, on me. And also the numbers, write it down a couple times on a piece of paper, just in case you lose that. make sure, like, if you are like having to, like, I, for example, I always usually use Flixbus or Radio Chat. And what happens a lot, especially if you cross borders where there's border control, is that the bus is late and you might miss the other bus. Make sure that there is a way for you to either, like, not worst case, stay in the stop, like at the stop place, if the bus, like, you miss the other bus and there's none else coming, or that there is another bus coming that day, because where you're from, the country might have like a better bus system, but it is likely, sometimes it happened to me recently, that the bus just didn't go anymore that day and I had missed it because of border control. And then I knew I had like enough saved so that I could like just comfortably get some cheap room and it would be fine. Yeah, just really make sure, especially if you don't have a huge budget, that you will be safe and you can stay somewhere, because it's not a good idea to stay on the street. Yeah, also, like, what I had to learn painfully is that you should really have like some sort of Uber app or something, or like taxis, because taxis, especially like around Eastern Europe where I've been a lot recently, are a big scam sometimes. So it's pretty important to like have like the Uber app or something like that. I recently had to call an Uber because I lost my keys in the ocean, in the sea, I mean, because I'm very smart and I had to reach my Airbnb host, but he lived quite far away at night. So just keep that in mind, just for emergencies. Make sure also for that your card is already linked and that you have a working card linked to it, because I was lucky enough that I was calling my boyfriend because my card would not have worked. Yeah, so that, all that, and also just always send where you're staying to someone, with who you're staying, like which location in general, how long you should stay there and when you will come back, just in case something happens to you, you know the last location. And like, just like, always, like, in Europe you always have internet now, even if you have, like, if you just have a normal phone contract, you will have internet everywhere in the European Union. But if you don't, like, make sure to have some sort of internet or at least phone connection if you're coming by yourself. It's just really important to get by. And I mean, internet is really crucial these days just for finding your way. Of course, you could be old school and like look up on maps, but I would really not recommend it. There's so many, like, it's so much easier when you, especially by yourself, if you have internet with you, and it makes you feel much safer. There's a lot of, like, for example, in Japan I had a pocket Wi-Fi. There's so many things. Yeah, it better safe than sorry. Even if you pay more, like, it might save you a lot of money in the end. Like, if something worse happens, you might lose much more. Yeah, in general, I guess that's that. Then another part of the questions were, how do you make friends so easily in foreign countries, and how are you more approachable, or like, do you just talk to them, or what do you do? And so I must say, I am quite privileged, considering that I have a quite big Instagram following. Thank you for everyone following me there, and thank you for everyone subscribing to me here, by the way. So usually what I do when I go to some country, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be there, anyone wanna go for coffee? And of course I check the people out, and I make sure they're not serial killers, like, as good as I can, and I meet in a public space. But yeah, like, through that I have made many sweet friends. Actually, I met with this girl recently, and I met all her, like, usually how it goes, like, then I meet their friends too, which is really awesome. Thank you so much for trusting me. Hello to Jana, which I hung out with recently, and I'm gonna hang out with someone else soon, because I'm going to Croatia yet again, because I'm using my free time and buses are cheap. Of course, I am always wearing my mask. I'm trying not to get too close. Yeah, you can like decide whatever you want with that. Yeah, and yeah, other than that, if I don't have anyone, then like, just try to be a bit more open. Even, like, I get it, I'm not very, like, interactions and everything are also not very easy for me. I also have an anxiety disorder. If you're gonna make that, like, if you're gonna use that as, oh no, I can never do it, you can do anything. I know it's hard, but you can, if you really want to. If you already made it to a foreign country by yourself, then you can also go and talk to people. Of course, you shouldn't go to anyone that's super shady in a dark alleyway, of course not. I personally also don't really go out drinking to clubs when I'm by myself, just because it's a sad reality that as a woman you do get drugged a lot, which is horrible. It's amazing if you feel safe enough to do that. I personally don't. Usually I do. It's not like I don't drink when I'm out by myself in a country. I usually just end up grabbing some alcohol from a supermarket and just drinking by myself, sometimes by myself outside, and then maybe I meet people there, and that's pretty cool. Like, for example, I was sitting by the sea the first night I arrived in Croatia, and I met this random Polish guy because he dropped his money, and like it's really easy to start a conversation with weird shit. You could even, my tip is like, if you're too scared to like just be awkward and like ask about the weather or something, just ask them if they can take a picture of you, like some tourist picture, because it's super common that if you're in some touristy place, or like if you're visiting any country, that people ask that, and it's not weird or anything. People will understand. Worst case, they say no, but then it's way easier if you already interacted with them, that you ask them some more, like, oh, where are you from? Are you from here? Like, and then the conversation usually goes on, and if it doesn't, then they're not the right person, and then you can just talk. And if you vibe with them, you can hang out. Like, that's what I do. And in general, if like you just sit in crowded spaces, I wouldn't recommend sitting in really dangerous countries. I mean, I wouldn't recommend traveling to very dangerous countries by yourself anyway, either men or women, especially women, sadly, is not very good. It is a sad reality that every time I go somewhere, I will definitely Google before how safe it is for women and how the crime rates are, and informing myself about the situation. Also laws, it's really important, even if you're not alone, really inform yourself on the laws, like especially drinking laws. Some places you can't even publicly drink, some places you can't drink on X places, some places don't care. Just all these things to keep in mind, just so that you have the nicest experience possible. If you can also find out about the public transport systems in case you need to get somewhere. And like, even like, if you, my general rule is it's way harder to go up to someone who's in a group, but if there's someone who's basically like you see them, they're just hanging around somewhere, they're clearly by themselves, I don't know, you could ask them something. You don't have to be like weird and be like, oh, hello. Like, okay, legit, last time I went up to someone and said, you look like you want company. Do you want to talk to me and my friend? I was with a friend and we were traveling, but that's how we made a friend too. And like, just like, if you have something in common, like for example, for me it's easy. I'm like, oh, if they have dyed hair, I'm like, oh, I love your hair. Like, it would the thing is also, a lot of times how I get in contact with people is that I just actually compliment them or something, or they compliment me, which is super sweet. But then like, you already talk to them and they are happy, and maybe since you have something in common, maybe you say, oh, I love your hair, and you could like blah blah, and then if they kind of like you might keep talking, and like maybe you can ask like, oh, are you from here, with like blah blah. You don't even have, like, it's not like you have to go meet up immediately, but you could be talking. And if you get along, like, you can always ask, hey, I hope this is alright to us, but would you mind, you don't have to ask for their number, but you could ask for their social media. And if they're like, what happens a lot for me is like, I ask for the social media, and then we say, yeah, maybe we'll meet up later in the week when I'm staying somewhere. And that's how I kind of meet people. I hope that was helpful at all. I hope I brought every point into it that I wanted to. If you have any further questions, either if they're short, I'll answer them down below, or I'll make a part 2. And any other topic you want me to talk about, feel free. I hope this was very helpful, or not, at least a bit. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you're doing well. Subscribe if you haven't yet, because that is nice. And like, I have also Instagram and TikTok under the same username. Would be nice if you checked that out as well, and maybe give subscribed or like followed. Okay, take care, bye bye, stay safe, wear a mask if you are in crowded spaces, and stay safe, bye bye.